This is day 142. Day 142 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. Even though this is the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi for Chav Tes Tishrei, nevertheless I'm recording it on Chav Ches Tishrei, which is still my mother's yard site, Shalom Espas Rav Dov Yehuda, and may this shir be Lui her neshama. If you would like to sponsor an upcoming shir or more of Arukh HaShulchan Yomi, be very greatly appreciated. Please contact me directly. So we are doing today Siman Kuv Beis, Siv Beis to Siman Kuv Beis, Sifud Aleph. Beis. We were talking yesterday about whether you have to be 4 amos, be marking 4 amos only in front or also in back. And Shulchan said there seems to be typos here. So he says now in Beis, the Baruch the toes and of a Gambarush. This is a mistake in the Rosh Kamo Batur Kfir Girsa Shovanenu. Beshay Bekitza Piske Rosh Lokosu Machrov. Kitza Piske Rosh does not mention Machrov. Then the Yontav Kasav Sham. And then Baruch Girs Lachrov. That Lachrov should not appear in the Rosh either. Vodi Maya Baruch Girs Lachrov. Furthermore, if there was that Girs in the Rosh, Loya Nimna Rabbeinu Beis Yosef Las Kiro B'Sipar Kedarko. Then the Beis Yosef should have brought it down. Adrab, on the contrary, because of Divrei Torah, Divrei Tesa, Rosh Mordechai, Ayin Shom Shmami Lafara B'Chulam Loya Kosum Yachorov. So clearly, all his texts did not say Lachorov. He says in the brackets, "V'gam beBeis Yosef Novotos Adfus Shkosabol Achrov Avadeh Leisik Moshav Duk Lachorov shouldn't be on Beis Yosef either." It's a conspiracy theory here. But Tosfos Hoya Kosu Lachrov and Imchak Ayin Shom. Okay, and Tosfos obviously was taken out of Tosfos. Rabbeinu Ramatz Moshe Yishem Yeshua Yeshena Girs Baruch Lachrov Ayin Shom. He brings down the name of Yeshua, meaning that we should not have Lachrov in the Rosh. The Bemes, and now the Arukh HaShulchan gets into the substance of this potential typo. The Bemes Einya Shechina Nir Lo Shach Rak Bifnei Mispal. Shechina is only really in front of the Mispal, V'lo Mechrov, and not behind him. Now, time for that reason, Sheboseh Shosh Psios Holech Lachrov. So you go backwards when you into the Shemon Esrei. They cover the Shechina. Because the honor of the Shekhinah, Mishli is down below Rok, and also somebody who has saliva that he cannot swallow, York Lachov, should spit backwards. And now we have a bracket. V'yoseh to most astonishing, Mash Yikshu Batzmam, that which has themselves, the Rosh Nasan Siman Bezeh, Bazeh, he gave a Siman the word Bazeh, the Ola Yud Beis, which comes out to 12 amos. That means 3 times 4. It would also count it backwards, that would be 16. But at the Rosh Hashanah was there. It's very difficult to hear the answers which are given to this as viable piskei halacha. So therefore, it seems to me that somebody who's is within 4 amos of a mispah from behind him, lo yisi, does not lose out. Whatever the Zohar says, we will not see today, but tomorrow, Be'ezras Hashem Yisborach. Mishnah Berurah is much more machmir than Arukh HaShulchan. Mishnah Berurah writes that the Chaim were masking like the Ramah to be machmir that even behind a mispah you should not go within Daled amos. Again, the Arukh HaShulchan is a Mekel, and of course, this din, which is certainly the Rabbanan, you can lie in the Arukh HaShulchan. Everybody writes that the whole problem is all of you are sitting there twiddling your thumbs. I've never actually seen somebody saying twiddling their thumbs, which I assume means like this, but anyway. All things which have to do with davening, even doing ezim which is technically not tefillah, but learning, and so you don't have to distance yourself. Since the people have the custom stage for davening, it's like the part of the tefillah and allowed to sit in that proximity. The Torah also, the Torah writes that learning Torah is not the same like tefillah. You can't do it within 4 amos. The Torah is more severe than davening. Not in this respect. Amos reason now so within 4 amos, looks like your friend is in a kabel or malchus shamayim and you're not. That's why if your manners to davening shosek shapir avakigamu makabel malchus shamayim. That sense you're also in kabel malchus shamayim. Not into the Torah Ainsham. Rabbeinu says Sibur Gorah the Torah Adifa. He says he argues. He says the opposite. He says Torah is better. Basically, was Litvak, and the Torah was a chassid. No, of course not. But you got the idea. I ain't shum. I'm sorry, I skipped. No, I didn't. I skipped backwards. But again, Rabbi says man, learning Torah as we are doing right now is certainly kabos el malchus shamayim. And that's why the Shulchan writes that some say being involved in Torah is sufficient. But it's only if you're learning verbally, enunciating, as opposed to just thinking. I don't think I have to say it out loud. It doesn't mean you have to say because it's just davening you have to say it out loud, but rather svasehanos, the lips have to be moving. Doubt. But the Torah's a reason why one should not send doubt Amos to the spell is difficult. Because that's the case, the Ikar Kabos HaMachshamaim is with Shema. And then it should be certainly also then to sit within his doubt Amos. And yet we don't see that is the case. It's only much more necessary. Furthermore, my mind chutz Arba Amos. What does the fact you're outside Arba Amos do if it looks like you're in proximity to somebody who's Kabos HaMachshamaim? Furthermore, it also has to be an issue, but if it's another individual davening in the same room, why do you have to distance yourself from him? So Arukh comes out with a very interesting chiddush, which is very similar to Arba Amos Shel Adam Konos Lo B'chol Makom. In this case, the Arba Amos Shel Tefillah are koine lo the Makom. How so? He says, this place is holy as long as somebody's davening there. And the place of person is 4 amos, and you have to treat that place with respect. Therefore, when you're sitting idle, also it's forbidden. If you're learning, lomaid, or sitting and diving or learning, with divrei kedusha. About the matters kedusha came pasuk avush with teira mutar leishev ayin sham. And that's what the Vush said, that you are allowed to sit there because at that Amos may be Makudish, but Torah is part of its now becomes part of its Kiddush. Mr. Brewer writes that some people say are matter with Torah. He says some Achronim say it's best to be machmir to stand unless it's Shas Tachak. But if you're behind somebody, even according to Mr. Brewer's machmir, you don't have to stand up. You can still sit down as long as you are being involved in Tefillah or, if necessary, Torah. Back to the Arukh HaShulchan. Hey, because Rabbeinu says to see out, the Yesh Omer Dafka Min Atzad. As we say, 4 amos works simply on the sides. I will connect them, but opposite in front. Afilu Kamlo Einov Osir. As far as the eye can see, it's forbidden to sit in front of, they shave, puts in brackets, so to sit in front of him. And even if it's on Shema, I can't show them. Says Arukh HaShulchan Ani was died to inner movement. I understand this. Places are Rosh Tamir Rabbeinu for Mordechai Bas Magvar Rashba. It's a lot of people. Kulon Kos the Europe Shem Againim. The Oiseg B'Tefillah puts in brackets Uva Torah Mutter. Arukh HaShulchan seems to be pretty big on this Torah, a substitution thing. So he says to the Goyim, say if you have the Torah and Tefillah, it's okay. He's talking about the front of Asr. I say it's forbidden in front of him. Echlo Biaruzah. Why did they say that this is Asr? Why did they leave a stumbling block in front of the people who are learning these halachos? The Torah also does not explain this. Sefer He does bring this down, maybe the Moed. But it seems to be a solitary opinion. Usually it seems to me Shazel Kavaras Abush Kasav Azem Nation Nira Kimishtachavalo. It said the Bush wrote that it looks like you're bowing down to him, and looking like bowing down to him, Yichara is as far as Mole as far as the eye can see. So he says, Akalashoro, Kavaras the body ain't Chilip Ben for a minute started. Someone's cheating in front of him or on the sides. El the neck the mamish vada mechur. But opposite, literally opposite him, it's repugnant. The near Kimishtach V'olam. So it's bowing down to a person. But this does not have to be explained. Of course, ain't no need to upon a mamish anything which is not literally opposite his face. Mutter I feel in front of. It's mutter even in front of it. So it's mamish says Arukh HaShulchan. It's mamish should be specifically in front of you directly. It might be also outside of 4 amos, but not if he's so much on the side. It's mutar feel farav chenir ikar ledina. It means brackets that whatever the pre-Prisha wrote is difficult. Okay, he doesn't bring up the Prisha wrote, so oh well. The Mishnah Berurah says that in the name Pri Chodesh that there's no difference between before and on the behind, in front of it and besides. And the other Achronim wrote that it's told to be machmir like those. Well, there is such a distinction. And he says that certainly if you're standing in front outside of Arba Amos, it's not a problem, and it might not even be a problem if you're standing within Arba Amos. The standing of itself is indicative of your respect. For Binyan Tzon, there's the sides, but it's telling me the fun of certainly the sides in front of you. Having confirmed is like in front of you. The sides in back of you, having is like in back of you. Achra basar, it's forbidden in back of you. Gam stoyin achra basar, so also the sides in back of you. Achra mutter, it's mutter behind you. Gam stoyin achra mutter, so to the sides behind you is mutter. Yoshib al-achson, if you're sitting on an angle, you measure the 4 amos on an angle. They answer the Arba al-achson are not like Shabbos or the places where we say the 4 amos is actually 5.6 amos because it's like the amma plus its angle. Zayin, Yesh Mishom Adiyadiyadiyam Yesh B'tzai Mispal Adam Chalush. To those who say the person sitting next to the spalo is a weak person, mutter it's okay. Everybody sees B'tzai Nechul Shaso Muchar L'Shem because it's weakness he has to say. Because you're going to ask me Machrichol L'Shem Tochar Ramos, Tal Ramos, who's making him sit there specifically? Look, it's not difficult. Okay, it's like where there's no other place to sit. And to carry this chair or bench outside the 4 amos, and they cannot do. If you can take the out of the 4 amos of the person who's diving, if he's strong enough or capable enough, then he should do so. Is that a bracket here was asked the Shabbat Kushas the Taxib Kondab because of the Eli Zokin Hoya to Tmuya the Maisa Khanaisa. Okay, whatever the case may be with Eli, his I guess to discuss Eli being within 4 amos of Chana, or in front of Chana. I don't know. The discussion is he doesn't bring it down here. The Mishnah Berurah says that weakness helps on the sides of the spala. But even a weaker person should not sit in front of the mispalo. Ches, b'lashon hashas, also l'shem b'soch 4 amos shel tefillah. B'zeh diko l'tur v'shulchanot the dafka shabali l'shem achar shishon tefillah spalo. It's only the second guy comes to sit after the first guy began to daven. On the Yoshiv Yoshav part, but the sitter was sitting already. Vamad Zabativa, the spot, and this guy stood next to him to daven. And so Holkum doesn't have the spring to get up. Shrei was there, Bobby Vula, because he invaded your space. They don't need a kilo, they no road to come out Shemai Damatur. That's what he doesn't want to come out Shemai. He was just sitting there minding his own business. The guy ain't saying they're covered. This is also not lack respect. If your time should be able to see Dalit, like he wrote in Steve Dalit, that the issue is the Malcolm covered. When he was sitting there, was he a Malcolm covered? Nobody else, somebody can't tell. So like somebody else coming and being makdish my property. It doesn't work. Adrab, that she's supposed to Ksash Lokogan. Conscious, the person who's doing the davening is somewhat improper. Why? Shabbat spell it's all the Mishab is going to sit down by a person who's already to daven in the space of a person who's sitting down. So therefore, granted, he says it's midas chasidus to get up even in this scenario in order to take away the stumbling block his friend did by doing what is his improper standing in his Dar Amos. According to strict level law, you don't have to stand up under those circumstances. So some it's only in your house. Of course, but places which are designated for davening, I feel even the person who sat already, he must stand up. These are places which are uniquely designated for tefillah. Lo shaykh lamash asas eshlo kogen. He can't say the guy came to shul to davening, wherever he stood is doing something inappropriate. And Masha Amal is by Yoshi that we stood the down by the sitter. The lab kol kamina sheish lebatel zem yispal makom zeh. It's not within the rights of the sitter in a shul. The vatel person for davening any place in the shul. So therefore, you, the sitter, have to get up. And even have as a specific spot which is Mokum Gavua. There's not for this purpose. Excuse me. Tzarchlam is going to stand. Achzel v'devada k'shalom made, but it's interesting as I'm showing if he's learning, then tzarch lakum, you don't have to get up. After das that Torah, that Torah, even going to Torah says that Torah doesn't exempt you getting up. That's where you came into his space, not where he came to your space. When here you sat down first, answer Chamori has to stand up. A few midas chasidus like there isn't even a midah chasidus involved. Yud yesh stop Reuven Omer b'sugi the Zimra. What's the story of Reuven standing in b'sugi the Zimra? The Shimon Yosef, that's how Shimon sat next to him. The Nimsa the Beis Reuven Omer tefillah. So at the time Reuven gets Sam Shretzai, Kfar Yosef Shimon. Shimon's already saying there. In Mikra said that Yosef caught him. It's called that the sitter came first. She can continue sitting. Odim will say, Odim HaMispal caught it. The davener comes first, right? Yosef, you'll die because the person who sat down there knew Shetechev Yas Yispal Shmanesei. It's about up to Shmanesei. When we can Mispal caught him there, it's called that the davener came first. Mitzvah Khan, and the person has to get up. The second person. Mitzvah for near the mutter. Logically says Arukh HaShulchan dictates that it's permissible to continue sitting if for when Reuven gets up to daven, Shimon can still remain seated. There's no lack of covet. And it does look like a lack of accepting the yoke of heaven. Because he sat down before they began to daven Shemon Esrei. Now to walk in front of a person who's davening things for Amos, we can make a opposite his countenance. The language of the Gemara is also lavod keneged hamis barlim. You can't cross opposite someone who's davening. The Ditikum is there Rabbeinu and our Rabbeim inferred from this. Dafka in front of us, it's only in front of him that's also. I would today mutzah lavod, you'll have to pass on the sides. But time when nation over in front of this battle kavan also, because the problem is this kavan is going to be diminished. But so later somebody walks by the side, his kavan will not be diminished. And so to this thing Arba Amos I feel fun of, even in front of him, lo yispatel kavan so. For kavanah, 4 amos is enough even in front. Even though you need below 9 for other activities. It's clear that just standing there doesn't create a problem. The aim is a bit of kavanah, doesn't negate the kavanah of the person who's doubting. I was saying for Hashem, that's only if he already stood there. But to come to stand there, that entails, by definition, passing someone in front of him. And therefore, Bible kavanah is going to destroy his kavanah. Says in brackets, I'm not sure exactly what it means. Anybody, he says that that to pass by him, he should not go past the place of where he's saying Shema Yisrael. Because anybody who sees him, it's like opposite his face. I'm not sure what he's saying. I guess it means that you're passing by on the side of the person who's davening. You still shouldn't go in front of him, even on the diagonal, because it looks like you're davening. A guy's davening to you. But so that was my problem. But the minhag is not like this. Gamliel Rabbi Sigel Devai Kosher and they can put a mamish. So it's going to is not directly opposite you. Ain't got bittul kavanah. There's no negation kavanah. Ashkosh Shalom Rach LaVor V'LaMo. What Shalom Rach is right about passing by and standing. And kavanah in front of us. I didn't mean that it's us to stand. sorry, I lost my train of thought. Ein hakavana lefanov asul lamod. It's not that you're not allowed to stand in front of him, el lavor lamod asul, but only to pass by. Avomim Mikoyim is already standing there. Mutter, he remains standing there. The rabbi nichab was there. The rabbi is difficulty with his nick, which rabbi the duke. The guy so ain't lavor lefanov. That's in brackets, but it's interesting halacha. When you pass somebody saying Shema Yisrael, also should not pass in front of me because it will stare their kavanah.